So, hello everyone, and welcome along to the stream. Thank you for coming along tonight. Hopefully everyone can hear me and it's coming through okay. So if I can get a thumbs up from someone in the chat room just to make sure that everything is working as expected. I got a hello from Maurice. So does that mean I can? Perfect. Okay, good. The reason I wanted to just confirm that is because we've been messing around with the audio settings. So you'll see up there in the top right-hand corner of the stream, I have got Pascal joining me on the stream tonight. So I'll let Pascal introduce himself in just a minute. I'll do a little bit of an introduction for him just before we get started. So I've known Pascal for a couple of years now. Met him in person a couple of times now at the WinOps conference, which has been really good. But I know Pascal from working on Chocolatey. He's a moderator and a maintainer of some packages on Chocolatey, and he's also a member of the Cake team that I'm a member of. So I've known him online for quite a few years now. So I'll let Pascal give himself a little bit of an introduction.
Yeah, it's not much more to say about me. I write some add-ins for Cake for issue management, which are included in Cake.Recipe and which are now in the way to making Cake.Recipe running on .NET Core, which is what we want to tackle today.
So yeah, pretty much. The reason that I wanted to bring Pascal onto the stream, so over the last week, maybe 2 weeks, myself and Kim, mainly Kim, to be honest, Kim's been doing a lot of work, is we have been looking at what's left in terms of making Cake.Recipe run on .NET Core. So historically, Cake.Recipe is an opinionated build system that has a bunch of scripts that does everything that I've ever wanted to do with a build. So when it comes to doing a build, it is compile some code, package it up, put it somewhere, send out some tweets, some blah, 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 blah. Those are the things that I want to do as part of my build. So as I said, Kim mainly, and me to an extent, over the last couple of weeks, have been looking at getting the next version of Cake.Recipe ready to ship. So Cake.Recipe has always been, first and foremost, it's always been about .NET Framework. It's always been download Cake.exe, download NuGet.exe, run the build using MS Build, etc. That's where Cake.Recipe started, right? Audio sounds a little bit hollow from, is that from me or from Pascal? I mean, I'm asking that question, but I genuinely don't know how to fix it. So it could be that there's some artifact of. Oh, Freestyle Coder has just raided us as well. Hello, Freestyle Coder. If there is an audio issue, I may try and tinker with it while Pascal's talking. Oh, from me? Oh, interesting. Let me just make sure that I'm still on the right mic. So properties here, default. Let's try. This. What about now? Can you hear me okay now? I made a slight change. I'll wait for a response from some people to see what's happening. Can you still hear me, Pascal? Okay, cool.
Yeah, perfect.
No change from me. Okay. Okay, I'm going to keep talking. So what I was saying was that historically, Cake.Recipe was all about .NET Framework. But when we released 1.0, we were trying to get to a point where we could draw a line in the sand. So we shipped version 1.0 of Cake.Recipe. We drew that line in the sand, and we said, essentially, we are going to break some stuff in the next version. And then one of the breaks in the next version was that we wanted it to run on .NET Core. So within Cake.Recipe, we add in a number of tools, we add in a number of add-ins, we add in a number of modules. Now, it's gotten to the point now where almost all of the add-ins and almost all of the tools that we want to run when we're doing a .NET Core build will run on .NET Core. The one exception to that rule now is the Cake.Issues.Recipe that we've added into Cake.Recipe. Now, this overloaded use of recipe and the word cake is probably going to come back and bite us during this stream tonight. But to say again, Cake.Recipe has a dependency on Cake.Issues.Recipe, which in itself is a bundling of all of the functions and features that Cake.Issues provides, right? So Pascal is the creator and maintainer, along with some of the folks that he works with, of Cake.Issues and also of the Cake.Issues.Recipe. And we've brought in the Cake.Issues.Recipe to within Cake.Recipe itself. And now that we're at a point where Cake.Recipe will essentially run everything on .NET Core, with the exception of Cake.Issues.Recipe, I wanted to bring Pascal on to try and figure out what's going on. So the idea tonight was to go through what Cake.Issues is, figure out why it doesn't currently run on .NET Core, and let's caveat that a little bit and say that there's only one thing within Cake.Issues infrastructure, framework, whatever you want to call it, there's only one thing that doesn't run on .NET Core. And if we can get that one thing to run on .NET Core, then when Pascal ships the next version of Cake.Issues.Recipe, then it'll flow through into Cake.Recipe and everything will work, right? So that's the plan. And we think we've got an idea about where we're going to go with this, but we'll see how it goes. So what Kim's putting in there that's probably a good one to put in. So let me copy this link. So close this. I'm going to copy this link and put it into the window here. So yeah, we've broken a lot of stuff in the next version of Cake.Recipe. We've removed some tools that we didn't feel were being used or utilized properly. We have changed some of the core tooling so that we're updating version numbers within those. So there's breaking changes within the tools that we've taken a dependency on. There's lots of things that we break, but we feel that they're good breaking changes. But just be aware that if you are using Cake.Recipe and you haven't pinned to a specific version of Cake.Recipe, then now would be the time to do that. So with no further ado, I think we should jump into pass over to Pascal. We'll have an overview of what Cake.Issues is and what Cake.Issues.Recipe is, and then we shall try and fix some stuff. So I think the idea here is I've got my mouse and I'm going to click when Pascal tells. So yeah, Pascal's got a couple of slides to go through just to help understand the landscape. And when Pascal tells me to, I'm going to click a button and move to the next slide. So I'm going to pass over to Pascal for a little bit, and we'll come back after that. So off you go.
Perfect. You hear me? Is audio
so
fine?
I can hear you. So if someone in the chat room could just confirm that Pascal's coming through okay still, that'd be good. We're waiting. Someone's going to type. Either Kim's going to type. There we go. Okay, perfect. Yes, off you go.
Yeah, then you can move to slide 3.
So slide 3.
Further. No, further. Next. Yeah, next. So what we're talking about is if you have a simple build orchestration, then you have a compile task and probably a testing task. And you first compile your solution project and then test your project. Next. What Cake.Issue is about is the step in between, which is running some kind of static code analysis. It's not necessarily restricted to static code analysis, but that's the simplest example to use it. So you compile your solution, you run some linting. For example, with MS Build, this is in one step. So the compiler also MS Build Roslyn analysis run with the compile step together. So it's one, but you can imagine any linter running into the build process. So next. Just running linting itself is not really interesting. Normally you want to do something with it. And one possibility is to break build based on some conditions. So you can say if a certain amount of warnings happen, or if error occurs or issues with certain severity are detected, then we break the build and don't go on.
So there's a
Next.
comment there from Kim in the chat room regarding the rosin analyzer. So he's asking, the rosin analyzer requires additional packages as a dependency, though, doesn't it? Is the question.
For Cake.Issues, no. Cake.Issues is just the linting part, not running the. It's not the linter. It just takes the output of the linter and does something with it. Maybe give me a few more slides, then it should get clearer. Next, so another possibility which we can do is creating a report. So we have detected issues, then we might want to create a report. Next, which might look something like this. This is the one which we want to tackle, which is also in Cake.Recipe included. It shows all warnings and which rules were affected. Next. Another thing is we also could report issues to pull requests. This is something which is included also in Cake.Recipe, but only for Azure repos. So if your source code is hosted on Azure repos, if you click next, then it will do this. So it takes the issues and writes it as comments into the pull request. So the idea behind this is that you can have some kind of automatic code review. So everything which you can write in the rosin rule, you have into your build process, and then you have your build server as your review body, which complains, and then you can fix it. So I think that's it from this one. Can we skip to slide 23?
So there's another question there just before we skip to slide 23. What about GitHub Actions? Does Cake.Issues report issues on the check status there?
No, there's a basic implementation for abstraction for pull request systems, but they're only a concrete implementation for Azure repos, not for GitHub yet. I can explain later why. So on the overview of Cake issues, it explains Cake, which I think most are familiar. Extensibility of Cake. I think it's written as Cake addins. So go further.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, this one. Yeah, this one is fine. So Cake.Issues is basically an issue management system for Cake, and it supports three things. It reads issues from different kind of linters, can create reports, and it can report issues to pull request or build system. Next. So there are two things which are different with Cake.Issues than compared to most of Cake add-ins. First of all, most Cake add-ins are just wrapped around some tool. Their job is to call a tool. Cake.Issues is not calling a tool. Cake.Issues is the tool itself. So it's actual logic inside an add-in, which you normally would have to write inside your build script. And it's reusable as an add-in. And the other thing is it's not a single add-in, it's a whole bunch of add-ins. It's over 10 add-ins, and it's 50 it's a little bit older slide. It's I think about 18 aliases which it provides. There's also, for the ones which are interested, there Cake.Issues.net, which provides documentation for everything. So if you go further, next. So the specific add-ins, these are the three core add-ins. which are Cake.Issues, Cake.Issues.Reporting, and Cake.Issues.Pull requests. These three addins itself doesn't do anything. They are just providing the aliases for specific functionality. So Cake.Issues is the core addin for reading issues, parsing linter output. Cake.Issues.Reporting is the core addin for creating reports from issues. And Cake.Issues.Pull requests is the core addin for writing issues to pull requests or build systems. Additional to this, next, we have specific implementation. On the issue side, there are so-called issue providers, which are implementations. Everyone in its specific addin, they basically implement an issue provider interface, which is defined in Cake.Issues. And their job is to parse the output and return an enumerable of issue, the abstraction of an issue defined in Cake.Issues. So Cake.Issues.MSBuild can take the output from an MSBuild and parse it, like Cake.Issues.Inspect code can take the output of inspect code and so on. So therefore, it's not that it requires anything specific for Roslyn analysis. It just takes the log from which MSBuild creates and parses it, and it returns an enumerable of issue.
So say that differently though. So if I'm using style cop or I'm using code analysis, then any detections that are located as part of my MSBuild, my compilation step, those will be ultimately written into the log file, and then the Cake.Issues.MSBuild addin reads that log file, finds all of those, and then makes it into a concrete set of these are the issues that were found. Yes. Okay, cool.
Yeah, exactly. And then with MSBuild, you have different log outputs. So Cake.Issues.MSBuild supports multiple of them. Two are implemented. One is the bin log, so the binary log, which can be written, and the other one is from an MSBuild extension pack created logger, which creates an XML output. But any other logger output can be extended.
So in terms,
or even in your custom build script, you can extend
it. So I was going to say, in terms of Cake.Recipe specifically, we are currently really using the Cake.Issues.MSBuild addin and the Cake.Issues.Inspect code. We're not looking. We don't have any need at the minute for ESLint, MarkdownLint, or DocFX. We may have at some point bring in Dupe Finder, because that's a new addin that's coming along with the new version of Cake.Issues. And then potentially, once, for example, static comes in that Dave's working on, we could take the output of static and have an addin for that to indicate there's any problems with the documentation side of things within Cake.Recipe. Correct?
Yeah, what would be interesting, there's also the Cake, the rhyme recipe, or the static, so the markdown linting addin, which can take the output created by markdown lint, which is a node tool, and then use this. But I created once an issue for this. The thing with implementing this is that it requires the markdown lint tool available, which is a node tool, which is the question. So either it installs the tool and runs it, but yeah, basically this. Or also, if we can, it's possible to create a static issue provider, like there's one for DocFX, which just parses DocFX output, and if DocFX has some invalid cross-reference, it writes a warning, and then it shows this, and then you can break the build as soon as you have some invalid links.
So Kim's there suggesting that markdown lint would be useful for Cake.Recipe as well, and I don't disagree. That's maybe a job for a different day, though. Not in the 2.0 release. Maybe we'll do that in the next one. But I don't disagree.
There are even more. There's recently Yannick wrote another issue provider for Dubfinder, which is the other tools by JetBrains, part of the ReSharper stuff, which can be used and replaces the ReSharper reports add-in then.
Which would be a shame, obviously, because that was a great tool written by a great developer who had a requirement for that, and then Cake.Issues comes along and makes it irrelevant. So I mean, it's a sad day for that particular developer, but it's all good.
Life is hard. So I can click next. So, and this is the output side. These are again the concrete implementation. So for the reporting side, we have a Cake.Issues.Reportin.Generic, which is the one which we'll look at. It's basically a report output using Razor. So it's a flexible templating, so you can put it any Razor template, and then it creates whatever you want. Normally HTML. There are other reportings. There's one which creates a serif file. I don't know if anyone is familiar with it. It's a standard for code analysis exchange, which can also be interesting because, for example, Azure Pipelines has some add-ins in the marketplace, also by Microsoft, which can show a serif file. And then you can create this file. And there are certain tools, I think ESLint or so, can directly create the file. But the advantage of using something like Cake.Issues is the extensibility. Once you have an issue provider, you can use any output, and it's available. It's just you need to parse it once, and then you have it. And then for pull request integration, there's Azure DevOps, which we saw the screenshot. There's one for AppWire, which is actually not a pull request implementation. It's more a build system integration, which writes messages to AppWire. So, and there will be the perfect place for a GitHub thing. But the thing with GitHub is, I think it's quite easy to implement, but it won't be secure. You can do it secure with Azure DevOps, because if you have the source code and in Azure repos and use Azure pipelines, then you have the feature in Azure pipelines that you can have an OAuth token created dynamically, which is valid for the build run, which gives you access to write to the pull request. And if you're in a scenario with GitHub and something else building it, then you need to somehow give it some credential to write into pull request, which means that you can't do this in a secure way without giving everyone the same access.
Now, there was something at one point that you were looking at with a GitHub app that would do that for you. Was there not? Or what happened with that?
I don't think there happened much with it.
It didn't really go anywhere.
I need to check again. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's still interesting to have it integrated into GitHub. So if anyone is interested in taking it up, it's quite easy. There's already a repo out there in Cake-Contrib, Cake.Issues.Pull-Request.GitHub, which has all the boilerplate code, and one to do, which is basically a method which receives an enumerable of issue which you need to write to GitHub. So if you look at the source code,
all the codes here.
It's
just GitHub.
Yeah, GitHub, and then it's the
system.
Yeah, this one, the system. Yeah. And there's somewhere to do.
So if someone were to come along and put some code, then it would all just work.
Yeah, it's just you get the enumerable of issue and you need to write it to GitHub somehow. And if this is implemented, there will be another add-in, and then it will work for everything which is available as an issue provider.
Okay.
So I think we are done here. I think we can skip this part, go further. Yeah, maybe this one. This shows the issue, which is the abstraction, which is available. What exactly properties are set depends on the concrete issue provider implementation. Not every issue provider can provide every information. But here you see, if you click through it, you see it. Some project information, then file information, line. Next version will also have column and line range, message in different formatting, priority as a number and a string value, rule as an identifier and a URL, and the provider name is basically the name and the type of the issue provider. So this is also the information which is shown in the report. So click through everything until creating reports. Yeah. So this is the part which we need to implement, or I mean, this is implemented. Go further. So we can look at the example. So here, this is an example. If you click through it, go through the code. The add-in, it's the basic reporting and the generic. Then it's a task which creates a report. These are the settings. Generic issue report format settings is the alias which comes from our Cake.Issues.Reportin.Generic add-in, and this uses an embedded template which will be shipped out of the box as part of the add-in, and add some option, and then calls the create issue report alias which comes from Cake reporting and creates the issue into an HTML file.
Simple.
So now click through this. We don't do any demos. We can show the recipe further until recipe. Yeah. So what is Cake.Issues.Recipe? You can use all these add-ins in your build script, or it was previously also used in Cake.Recipe. Cake.Issues.Recipe is a recipe script which integrates all the add-ins for you. So it doesn't include everything. At the moment, it includes support for MS Build and Inspect code log files. It has support for Azure Pipelines and AppWire, and for Azure repos. So it makes use of these add-ins and handles the whole integration. So for example, what it does is, if you pass it an MS Build log file, it parses this, creates a report out of it, and while running on Azure Pipeline, it uploads the report as an artifact. It basically has two kinds of reports for Azure Pipeline. There's a summary report, which you can, a specific kind of artifact which you can send to Azure Pipeline, which will be shown differently than a normal artifact. And it handles all this kind of stuff, integration with different build systems and pull request systems, making use of the Cake.Issues add-ins. So this is all the integration with everything, which is then added to Cake.Recipe. If you click next, here you see how it's used. It's used like this in Cake.Recipe. So it has these issue parameters where you pass in input files. So you say, where is your MS Build? In this case, XML log file, where's your inspect code log file, and you can click through it. Again, it goes through the code. Yeah, further. And then this is the hook to edit. So you say there's Cake.Issues.Recipe defines an issues task, which you hook into your pipeline. In this case, if you call the default task in this build script, it will automatically call the issues task in Cake.Issues.Recipe, which does its thing.
Cool. So within your Cake script, you tell the underlying recipe where it can find its things. So that in here we're saying, here's the MS build log file, here's the inspect code log file. So as part of our build, we will have run MS build to generate that file. We'll have run inspect code to generate the file. So Cake.Issues.Recipe isn't doing any of that work for us. We would do that in our build, and then we would take the output of those things and provide them to the issues parameters here. And then ultimately, when you call the read issues, which is going to be within here, it's going to do all of the work that we've just discussed in terms of parsing them, creating enumerables, writing reports, sending them to the build system, sending them to the pull request providers, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So with our and a demo, and then
I think
okay.
that's it with an
So
overview.
if I can pick it up there. So in terms of where we are today, Cake.Issues.Recipe using the generic reporting add-in only runs in full fat .NET framework. It doesn't run in .NET Core.
Yeah, and it's the last one.
Yeah.
Everything else, all other add-ins are targeting .NET Standard, except this one. And it has a reason, because it uses Erasure. And yeah, that's the issue, which is open quite some time. So it requires Erasure. And for this, currently it uses Erasure Engine, which is a NuGet package, which is
no, that's the fork.
This is the fork for .NET Core. The original Erasure Engine is just for full framework available. So this is the restriction. It's not the Cake.Issues.Reportin.Generic add-in, which is the problem. It's the underlying Erasure Engine package, which is the issue. So
Kim is saying, do we pass the log file for .NET build to Cake.Recipe to? I know we do for MS build projects. That's something we should probably check. Yeah, I thought we did, but maybe we don't. We should probably check that. But in terms of this issue, there's been multiple attempts. So different people over the years. I think Kim was involved in this at some point, and then Philip came along, tried to do some stuff, and there's a most recent guy called Gavin who's been working on attempting to bring in something else. So rather than using the Razor engine, there is a alternative library called Razor Lite. There's a fork of Razor Engine which attempts to make it .NET Core, and then there's another one called Gazerator, which is from our friend and colleague Martin on the Cake team. So the reason that Razor Lite hasn't worked out was, what was the reason that Razor Lite hasn't worked out in the past? Pascal?
Sorry. Yeah, I tried with Razor Lite.
Oh, that's the one that doesn't have.
Yeah, I think it's.
They've only got beta releases. They haven't got any. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it didn't work.
Okay.
Also, it's both of them. It's has no recent final release and has some issues with loading, probably, of references or stuff.
So we've kind of ruled out Razor Lite as an option. The fork of Razor Engine that runs on .NET Core, there was issues with that as well, correct? Something didn't work.
Yeah, I don't know what issues, but it's not a drop-in replacement either.
So
it's still possible that both of them can work, but until now, Razor Lite was also the one which Philip tried and Kevin tried. So a few people tried it already and no one succeeded.
So Kim's just clarifying in the chat room there that he wasn't involved. He just added a couple of comments. He's saying it's way out of his league using Razor through code at all. So okay, fair enough. So what we so of the three options available, or of the four options, so there's Razor. The original Razor engine is out because it hasn't been ported to .NET Core. The fork of Razor engine didn't work for us. The Razor Lite project, a couple of folks have tried different things in it, and it hasn't worked out for various reasons. So what's left is this other one from Martin, which is Gazerator. Now, Martin did some work on this last night for us. So one of the things that was, or there are two main things that were kind of missing. One was that Gazerator didn't support taking a template from a string. It always needed to have a file provided. So Martin added in a new overload that allowed passing in a string. It then creates a temp file on the fly to then ultimately pass through to the Razor engine that it's using. And then the other one was that it didn't support the concept of a view bag. So anyone who's done any sort of ASP.NET development and the concept of a view bag that goes through the model into the view will be familiar with that. But the reports that are being used within the Cake.Issues.Reportin.Generic addin need a view bag. So Martin also took a look at getting that up and running. So last night, he reliably informed us that it's all ready and it's all ready to go. So what we're going to try to do, and Pascal's going to be sitting over my shoulder, and we're going to attempt to pull in Gazerator into Cake.Issues.Reportin.Generic and get it to work. So thankfully, Pascal has got a suite of unit tests. So there was 248 unit tests. So if we can get it to run, then all of those tests should pass. Right? Now, it may work, it may not work. We don't know, but we're going to give it a try anyway. So there's a comment from Kim in the chat room though. Just check, and we aren't passing any log files from we do a .NET build. Okay, so we will need to add that in to the Cake.Issues.Recipe so that we can pass that along to being inspected. But do it support can be used instead. So question there from Kim is, does it support view data? Could be used instead of a view bag. I don't know the answer to that. Do you happen to know the answer to that, Pascal? Can it use view data rather than view bag?
Yeah, probably it depends on the underlying engine implementation or packaging used. And I mean, what maybe what we haven't told yet is there's an upcoming breaking change release of Cake.Issues. Currently we are 0.8 and there's 0.9 upcoming, which means it's breaking API changes, which means there's a perfect time now to replace the engine, which also means I'm okay if we need to do slight changes to the templates, but if we can make it as compatible as possible, that would be great. But we will see.
So let's get started though. So I'm going to I'm going to pull in the NuGet package that is Gazer. I struggle to type this one because it's not a familiar word to me. Gazerator. So if we browse for this.
No, it's O.
Gazerator. There we go. Right. So latest version, which was shipped last night. So today is the 13th. Yesterday was the 12th. So I'm going to click install here. And it's going to bring in this NuGet package that is Gazerator. That's obviously a play on Razor and yeah, Gatorade. I don't know where he got the name from, but it's what it is. So I'm going to pull this in, and you then mentioned in the call that that's pulling in a lot of stuff. Beautiful. Okay. I'm going to accept all of those. Apache, MIT. Sure.
It just pulls in Razor, basically.
That's doing its thing. play on alligator, razor, and generate. Oh, could be. Yeah, I can see how that would work. Okay, so then we mentioned that there was a, which one was it? Report, this one?
Yeah, this one.
So in here, there is 3 lines of code that currently make use of the razor engine. So the intention is to replace these 3 lines of code, correct? It might actually only be 1 line if we can reuse the ones that come before it.
No, you can't.
No?
Yeah, the write all text is different. Okay. Yeah, so basically, internal create report receives the enumerable of issue, which we need to pass to the ratio engine, and then we have the generic issue report format settings template, which is line 43, which is the template of the string, and then we have the options on line 47, which need to be passed as UBAC, and we have the file path in line 49.
So what we should do is look at the example. So Martin does have an example of doing some of this. Where was it? Was it in the console? Was it here? So this is him creating a template, which is what we're passing in. But then there is an example of doing something like this, correct? So I'm going to pull this and I'm going to stick this in here. So the first problem is that we are in an internal create report method that is asynchronous. So is a synchronous method, whereas the gazerator is async by default. Yes? So we can't call await on anything. So we're going to have to figure that out. So the obvious one is get awaiter dot get result is the first thing, right?
Probably should also add configure await false.
Configure.
No, before the get awaiter.
Dot configure await false.
Just be.
Yes.
I think in this case it's not an issue if we have a context switch. So this is performance issue.
So here we need to pull in gazerator, I'm assuming. So we need a using statement, or no?
Yes.
Wasn't giving me the option though. Introduce local for gazerator.
Just add the using gazerator.
Strange. Using. Oh, maybe it's. There we go. So
now you need to, therefore you can't use the write all text. You now need to create the stream writer for the file path.
Can I borrow one, or do I have to type it out? No, he hasn't got one. Oh, he does.
Yeah. But you need to use the stream writer then.
So using
write into the file.
Var stream writer equals new stream writer.
You can take the output file path, full path from
this dot
line
settings
above.
dot output file path dot full path. Yes. Here. Kim's asking if it's not is it not a string writer rather than a stream writer? Does it? Could we?
Yeah, I mean, in this case, we want to write to a file, which stream should be fine.
So
It doesn't
here
matter.
this would be stream writer rather than just writer, and then this will just be our issues, correct? So we've already got the enumerable, which is issues. So we don't need that.
Also the cast you don't want need.
So we don't need the cast either, do we? Okay.
No.
All of these references.
And yeah, I don't know what Cake.Issues loads itself. If you look in Solution Explorer, there's the ratio engine reference resolver, which is the same. Does the same for ratio engine. So these are the assemblies which we make available in the template. So I think Cake.Core, Cake.Issues, Cake.Issues.Reportin.Generic, and then some system stuff.
So,
but you can try. I mean, there you see then the failing test cases and can move on with this.
And then the view bag here, we're passing in some stuff, but you said that that's what has to come from this part here, correct? So I can just say, what are we doing here?
There's an action which expects a dynamic result.
It's not going to be as simple as that, is it? Or is it? No.
No. This doesn't make sense. You need to remove this one, yeah. What happens if you remove lines 64 and 66? Or just the braces. I need to close the round.
Try to get the formatting. Hold on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And then process async. Do we still need this part?
Process async. Here need to the template, which is this line, yeah.
Okay. So does that compile? Let's find out. Just thinking about it. So if this all works, essentially what we've done is we've taken the Razor engine, we've converted it to a new Razor templating engine known as Gazerator, but nothing else had to change in terms of the Cake.Issues infrastructure. It's all of the Cake.Issues infrastructure it's still there. It's still doing all the reading of the issues, the processing of the issues. All we're changing is the final thing that's taking the IEnumerable of issues and putting it somewhere. So there was very little to have to change here to get it to work. If it does indeed work, there's very little it had to change. So shall I run the tests? So we've got a working build, like compiled. Should I run all tests?
Yeah,
let's do it.
Ahead.
And we're expecting this to work, or we're expecting this to fail horribly. Let's find out.
Tests take some time, but maybe if they fail,
there's already 9, 46, 69. failed.
Not with. So something, 111 is everything failed. The remaining tests are not using any engine stuff. It's surrounding code.
Kim's in the chat room saying, don't think the with view bag would work as expected. Looking at the code, Gazerator still creates its own view bag.
You can comment out the view bag. Then at least some tests should work. But they still will fail. I have another idea, but it might be.
Okay. Well, so where do you want to go next? Do we want to start drilling down into a specific one, or what do we want to do?
Yeah. I had a quick chat with Martin about it. I told him that it doesn't work. So he sent me, if you look at, maybe go to GitHub and have a look at the Gazerator, or can you debug into it? That's the other option. I think there's a line which reads the get entry assembly. Actually, Martin has tested it from his console application, and he used one of the templates. But the difference is this test is not running as a console application. This is basically running from a test assembly, so line 56.
Of which file? Sorry, did I go to the right place?
No, which file? No, scripting. No, one up, scripting, and then ratio content generator. 56. This seems a little bit suspicious. We can try to debug into it. I mean, I'm not sure what the entry assembly is in this case and if it works.
So if we do this, then...
The thing, if you look at the failing tests, it's an RFX exception.
Let's find that.
I think.
Here. Illegal characters and path value cannot be null. So yes.
That's a different one. We can try with a very simple. There's the should generate report from custom template with underscore between every word. No, this, yeah. So this basically uses this ULLI list and passes this as the ratio template. This, I think, is as simple as it can get. We can, if you run this, what's the exception here?
So can I do that from here? Test failed.
Yeah.
Does it give me a new one with just that one? Oh, it's here actually. So this one was, or is this the same one? Should generate report from custom. Yeah, this one was illegal characters and path. It said.
But that's different than I got.
But yeah, Kim in the chat room is confirming that the code that Martin has would get us the unit framework assembly, not the assembly that the unit tests are located in. That would indeed cause a problem.
But I don't see where the illegal characters comes from.
So stack trace is saying path.check invalid character path Gazerator. So let's maybe debug it then. So
can you debug? This is the path which we pass to process async, which seems to be wrong. Which word?
Maybe did I copy and paste the wrong thing? That's entirely possible.
I mean, this goes through a fixture class, which just calls to the generator.
maybe it's actually really this one that I'm interested in, right?
Above it just creates some issues.
So if we F11, whoa, that didn't do what I wanted it to do. F11. So
so what it does is it creates a temp file and then creates
that's
a
this one
report.
here, right?
And writes it into the temp file. But what's report file variable?
C users vagrant local temp.
This should be valid, right?
So let's go. Is the wrong button again? F11 is there. So this is us coming down to here. So if we get to this one, then our
no, wait. Process async. What's the content of template?
This one here.
Wait, I'm confused.
Template has string.
Wait. Oh, wait. Process async is the method which you need to pass the file on or your template file on disk. There's a process template async, which you can pass the template as a string. So
this one.
it's process template async. Yeah.
Which was the one that he added for us, correct? Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
So if we're back to here, is it this one? Right, okay. So let's debug into this again.
So now we should end with an LRF exception.
But if your suspicion is correct and it is the entry assembly that's causing issue, then that would be a modification to Gazer again, correct?
Yeah.
Just try to think how we could hack that to get something that we could play with in the 1 hour and 1 minute that we have left to get this working before I have to go inside.
You can try to clone.
Oh, I've got. Oh no, I was going to say I've got access to the repository, but I don't. So it's in Martin's repository. Hot patching, indeed.
But it should be possible that we can try to fix it locally, build it, and try if it works, and then
So
it's
this one we
just
can go away.
fixing it upstream later.
My shortcuts don't work, so I don't need that one anymore. And then so this one. So do we think if I step into this, we'll go further? Do you think? No.
I'm not sure about the viewback stuff, but
Yeah. You're not clear that this code is correct, or we need to do something else, or
just comment out the viewback. We don't need it for the
let's
moment.
play this through then.
You can comment out line 63.
Object reference.
For this SAM. No, it's fine.
So this one here, you're saying take this out. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, this is simple template without any viewback options. To just try if the engine works, we can do without viewback.
So I'm running this unit test again.
The other thing I'm not sure is about the model, because Marty mentioned that he needed to replace add model with add inherits for the type, which is missing here. But I think it should work. Otherwise, we can try with another test case.
Okay, so that unit test does indeed fail, and it fails with a, no, it's still running, sorry. A system null reference exception. Object reference not set to an instance of an object in, yeah, where we were. So we're back to the point where you got to. So you're saying that there's another issue that doesn't, there's another test case that doesn't include model that we could pass in?
No, wait. Just there's a should generate report from embedded template.
Should generate
test.
What was it? Should generate what now?
In the same should generate report from embedded template.
Okay.
So if you look in Solution Explorer, there's 3 templates which are shipped out of the box, and the diagnostic CS.HTML is basically just an HTML table. So what we can try here is, I mean, this is a little bit more complex than the last one, but compared to the last one, it contains the add model. If you change this to add inherits, and then run the test, you can comment out the other. This will run probably all 3.
Where do I see which report it's pulling in? Oh, sorry, I see.
No, above
so it was
the inline data. You can comment out line 44 and 45. Yeah.
Gotcha.
If this is the issue, we should now have something different, but I assume it is really the assembly loading.
So while that's running, what I'm hearing then is that potentially I need to go up to here. I need to do an ls here. Oh, I'm cd into people. I don't think I've got a markdown on this machine. No. Make dir mholo 65 cd into mholo 65 get clone https github.com/get13/gazerator cd into gazerator get remote add upstream https github.com/mholo65 gazerator fetch upstream, it was out of date, get rebase upstream develop, get push origin. Okay, so did that fail? I think it did. Embedded template failed with a null reference exception.
So the same, yeah.
I believe so. Okay. So what I think you want me to do is create a new instance, open a new instance of Visual Studio. And go to File, Open Project, and then in here, we're going to go to my C drive. We're going to go into my GitHub folder, the people folder, my Martin folder, and in here, and the code that you are looking for me to look for was this guy. Just thinking. What's it doing now? Project loaded and ready to use. Background tasks. Assuming it's doing a .NET restore at this point. Let's find this one. Okay, so in the Razor content generator.cs, there is indeed a assembly.get entry assembly. So is it get executing assembly at this point? Or
can you can try with if entry assembly is null, then or just comment it out.
Well, let's. Are we saying entry assembly becomes the executing assembly, or what are we? What's the end? What's the end goal here?
No, I would just. I would try if entry assembly is not equals null, then yield return create from file. Otherwise not. It's just method out the references. In case entry assembly is null, we won't return anything for this file. But I don't even know if it's required in this case. But at least we should get another error if it's missing. No longer a null ref exception.
Okay, so your suspicion is that we're not even getting it. Originally, when you said it was a null reference exception, I thought it was in the actual, it's getting in the template, it's attempting to leap through it, it's doing some stuff. You're thinking that it's not even getting anywhere close to that. It's literally this line here, the dot location on a null, is what your suspicion is, correct?
Maybe can you add, maybe also location is null, not entry assembly. You can also check for if entry assembly not equals null and entry assembly location not equals null.
Yeah. Like this?
This was also, I think, Martin's also suspicion was also that location is not set in this case.
Okay. So with that done, if I come over here and if I remove Gazerator, NuGet package, yes, and I add a reference to an assembly, let's just go straight to the heart of the matter. Let's browse. Martin, Kim said something in the chat there. If you wanted to GitHub people, Martin, Gazerator.
Yeah, that's true. But I think location can be null, probably not entry assembly.
Okay. So we'll browse straight to the one that we've just compiled, rather than the NuGet package. And if we run a build of this, the build should succeed. But what was it, Martin? Kim was saying? Kim was saying the only time that entry assembly is null is when it have been loaded by unmanaged code, or that is the only time it should be null. Okay.
Yeah, that's true. But I don't know what location is in case of Test Explorer. And also even if it works in Test Explorer, running as part of Cake is again another story.
Okay, so I'm running this test again.
Mm.
It's running. It's running. I/O could not load file or assembly. Microsoft ASP.NET Core Razor language.
That's probably a good thing.
Okay, so that's not one of the ones that we are passing in. Or one of its dependencies.
Yeah, but at least it means that the location is the issue there.
Mm-hmm.
Razor language is.
Location can be null if the assembly do not contain a manifest as a shadow copy or it has been dynamically loaded as a byte array. It can also throw a not supported exception when it's a dynamic assembly. I'm going to try running this one as well. See if we get the same error.
Which one
That
fails?
was the embedded template one that failed. They're both.
No, which file? ASP.NET Core Racial Language. This is interesting. I mean, the add-in currently targets .NET Framework 4.6 or something. Maybe we should target standard.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So this would become Net Standard 2.0?
Yeah, and then
Test project also?
test. No, the test project needs to be
Net Core,
Net
sorry,
Core
yeah,
app.
sorry. Net Core app, isn't it? Or what's it? I always forget. Net Core.
Net Core app 2.1 or something.
Okay.
Net Core app. Yeah, exactly.
Thinking. Okay. Oh. Did I break something? Or is it just, I need to build it again, having done the restore? Oh, no, there's more things here. I'm going to assume that these are transient errors. Once things are build succeeded.
Yeah, this can't work because we still have Razor Engine added as package, which doesn't work on standard. You need to remove Razor Engine. And then need to remove Razor Engine Reference Resolver and stuff. And they're using in here and some configuration.
So
yeah, now you can follow
so this
the
whole
arrows.
file, Razor Engine, delete that.
Yeah. But there's probably more errors later in the report generator.
I don't care about that at the minute, but that will need to come out too.
Yeah, sure.
There is a configure Razor engine. Is that?
Yeah, also remove this.
Okay.
It's a method in this clause at the bottom with the red squiggles are yes.
Delete that. And then, okay, so sanity check again.
The new spec file should.
No, no, it's just I was doing it for completeness more than anything. So okay, so that build seemed to work this time. So let's go back to our tests, and then let's run this one again. See if we get a different error message. So we're going to work on the assumption, Kim, that the issue was that we still had the Razor engine in there. So we're going to take having taken the Razor engine out, which doesn't support Net Standard 2.0, we will see what happens now. It's thinking still. Or is it doing anything? I thought I asked it to run, but build succeeded. Test run. 0 passed, 0 failed, 0 skipped. Why is it not running my test, Pascal?
Can you show the output window? And then the output from test, not from build. What
Unable to find bin debug netcore app 2.1 test host DLL.
Oh yeah, this one. You need to add. Wait, give me a sec. The SDK is missing. You need to add Microsoft.net.test.sdk.
Include equals Microsoft.test.sdk version equals 16.6.1. I think Kim came at the same conclusion in the chat room as well. If the tests don't run, you may be missing a reference in the unit test project. I think we were.
Yeah, it's one of these descriptive messages which clearly say what you're missing.
Okay, let's give that a chance to build again. So if this fixes the issue, one of us needs to raise a pull request into Martin's repository to fix it. But you suspect that there's going to be more to it. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean the question is what is the correct fix there? We just walked around the NRF exception currently, and yeah, maybe we can I can send it to Martin. Maybe as an idea. Also, we need to think. It should also work when running from Cake, which is different situation than running as a test.
File could not load file assembly. That's the same error though.
Okay. But file should be available in the output, right? At least in my case, it is there. If you look at the bin debug folder.
Yeah. So this is in our code base. So this is C, GitHub, organizations, Cake. This one, source, generic, or the test, sorry, right? Tests,
No tests yet.
bin, debug, netcore app 2.1. Then in here, I don't see a Microsoft anything, no.
Interesting. Why not?
Did you add additional references into your test project?
Oh, you removed the
Which
package? To Cake.Issues.
I did, because I'm referencing the DLL directly.
Yeah. Therefore, you removed everything.
Oh, cool. Okay, hold on.
This was a transitive dependency of Cake.Issues.
Okay, so let me do this differently.
But you can add Cake.Issues back and replace the Cake.Issues
DLL in the packages folder.
DLL in your global
Yeah, let's do
package
that.
folder.
Let's do that. Manage NuGet packages. Gazerator. Huh. It thinks it's, maybe I didn't uninstall it properly. Yeah. Right, so reinstall it for me. It's saying it's not there, but
You can edit the CS Pro directly.
that would be, should need to do that,
It's
Pascal.
probably
You
easier.
need to do that, Pascal. That's the point. If I come here, package reference. These are not in package reference. Include Gazerator version 0.4.0. Kim's saying stuff in, or .NET add package, that works too.
But you need to remove another reference?
Possibly.
You can search
right
for Cake.Issues in the CS Pro.
Just
Here.
a moment. Okay. Encountered a problem. Beautiful. Really? Let's let it finish doing its thing. And then where, off the top of your head, is my global cache folder?
In your app data.
As the user app data?
There. Oh. Yeah.
So see.
Local and then .NuGet.
Visual Studio.
Or no, just update.
App data. Local?
No, not app data. No, wait. In your user.NuGet. Here it is. One up. No, Vagrant. It's not app data.
So Vagrant, NuGet, packages.
Yeah.
And then you said there's going to be a Gazerator in here. Photo, lib, net standard. Okay. Let's use this one. GitHub, people, Martin, Gazerator, source, Gazerator, bin, debug, net standard, copy, paste, replace. Yes. And if we do one more, which was to our test project. Where's what I'm looking for? Open, then debug, netcore app. Okay, I still don't see anything in there, but I'm going to assume that that's going to happen once I do a full build.
You should.
33 minutes. Need a countdown timer. I still don't see anything in there. Have I broken something? Generic, source. Do I see it in this folder? Then debug, net standard. Yeah, I'm not convinced it's been added properly.
Yeah, if my local copy is not targeting net standard, it's still full framework, but with Cake.Issues.Reportin added. And it adds everything.
Is it that it doesn't need to? Let's try running the test again. See if we get the same error.
But I have still ratio engine included. Give me a sec.
Oh, we got a successful test. We got one successful test for the embedded template.
Okay. Which I think doesn't mean it just means engine didn't fail. It doesn't test the output. I think this one, but there are others which parse the HTML output. Then.
So I'm running the custom template one as well. But if this works, I should run them all. Okay.
Yep.
The tests are green. We ship it, right?
I mean, if tests are green, it's no, it's still the issue. The difference that while running on the Cake engine. In this case, it's really difference between being run from a test framework or from Cake. Several times issues with this that one or the other worked.
So I'm running all the tests.
This may take a while.
I've got at least 2 passing tests. And I think that's 2 more than we had last time. So
yeah, the longer it takes, the better, because now it's this 100 tests compiling all the ratio stuff, which takes some time.
Let's see where we get to. But we also made that change to the inherits for the data grid template.
Yeah, for the template.
We should probably put that one back as well.
Which means, yeah, but this means now some should fail, but not all 111.
Okay.
So we should be a little bit more green. Does it do anything?
It's still got a spinning icon, so I think it's doing something.
But it doesn't count any tests.
There are
Should not be that slow.
spinning icons for certain things. I mean, this is not a particularly powerful machine, so it will maybe take a second. And yeah, to answer your question, there was a 111 failing tests for the first time. I'll probably have to update this too as well. I see it. I'm not convinced that this is doing anything.
No.
Stop it.
It also doesn't count the duration up. It's 45 seconds.
I'm not convinced that was for the previous execution or not. So let's try it again. We should do this too while I think about it. Don't do this at home, folks. Purity.
I also think that there's another issue in GaugeRater, but which is not critical. But it doesn't seem to clean up the temp file which it creates. Okay. Erasure can't work with string as input. It always needs something on file system. So what GaugeRater does is it creates a temp file and then it processes it if we pass in a string, but it doesn't delete the file. So you will probably end with
files on the file
tons of
system.
files.
Yeah. It's doing something. I'm not convinced what it's doing.
The other thing which you can try is run build PS1 on the console. If Visual Studio does not work.
Let's maybe just cut to the chase and do that, shall we? It's not going to play ball. Let's just assume that that's broken. And let's do build. Nothing in the build script that would replace the GaugeRater package or anything, would it? There's no reason.
No.
I just see all these validity checks. It wouldn't do anything to refetch the DLL or anything.
No, this is just the Cake.Recipe add-in restore. Later there will be a .NET restore, but as long as you have it in the global package folder, just take it from there.
This is where we wait. Runs the build. Might have to give more resources to this VM for the future streams. Uh-oh. No, style cop. What are we? Closing parentheses in the CS. Oh no, sorry. 57. Where are we? 57. What are you saying? It's trying to tell me. Closing parentheses should not be preceded by a space.
Oh yeah, you need to put it one line up.
I don't know. Are you going to go away now?
No, the other way around.
Oh, sorry, you're right. This way.
Closing parenthesis needs to be on line
Gotcha.
56.
Is that it? 57, 57. XML code analysis. XML code analysis disabled due to project configuration. That's, I think, was the issue that I said earlier. That this is looking at net 461, whereas this wants to be net standard 2.0, correct? I think.
Yeah.
So let's try that again.
And on line 16 too.
What else was there? Line 62?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
We did it. It
Okay,
lags
sorry.
a little bit on my screen.
Let's do this again. Gotta love style cop. That's it was out of sheer habit that I put this comment as a double comment so that it didn't cause any problems with style cop.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
That was an old habit. If you update to the latest version of Cake.Recipe, then all of these output path obsolete messages have gone. No more of those in the output. You should update to the pre-release of 2.0 for Cake.Recipe. We had 111 failing tests. First time round. And you can even use a Cake version not supported by Cake. Yes, that's true. So what Kim's saying in the chat room there is that Cake.Recipe kind of wants you to build with a specific version of Cake, and we control that. So if you're not running with a version of Cake, it will error. But there is a flag you can pass in now saying, shut up, Cake.Recipe, I know exactly what I'm doing. And if you pass that in, then it won't validate it against the version that it wants, which is a very useful feature when you're trying to build the latest Cake.Recipe with, or using a test project to test out the latest version of Cake.Recipe, and you want to test it with a newer version of Cake. So thoroughly useful switch that was added into the pre-release version. I think for the next time we will run an exclusive target for the test.
Yeah.
Once it's got through everything at least once. So I'm curious as to whether in the output of the test project extra. Oh, that would have been in release mode as well. Release mode. I'm not seeing it there. I wonder if you are seeing it in your output, Pascal, because you were compiling against 461. So in 461, those things aren't there. Whereas if you compile for Net Standard 2.0, which we are, there's an assumption that it's already in the framework. So it didn't need to put them in the output folder, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, screen lags quite a bit.
So you were saying in your output folder, you were still seeing the Microsoft ASP.NET one, but you were still compiling for Net 461. So I wonder whether it has to output
Yeah.
those files because they're not in the base framework. Whereas now that we're compiling for Net Standard 2.0, those DLLs are already assumed to be there.
Oh.
If you see what I mean? As a complete guess, but
Yes.
and yeah, Kim's saying basically the message or use the ignore cake version switch if you know what you're doing will be part of. Yes. I love that error message. Oh, we're so close. Why is it so slow on this machine? I'm trying to remember what this machine has in terms of power. I don't think it's a particularly beefy machine. What? Not terrible. What are you beavering away at, Pascal? Are you changing things elsewhere?
No.
So slow. I really don't understand. But let's see if we can free up some. Let's see if we can help out a little bit. Can't really close much more. And technically, I can. Inspect code just seems to be taking ages to run. I really don't know why.
I can try to call the test target directly.
I keep thinking that it's almost going to get there. I'm just going to wait another minute, but
yeah. If it's already printing out the analyzing stuff, it's nearly there. It's terribly slow.
it's written the XML file now, so it's 501 issues. Right, there we go. Right, it's installing a report generator, which is done before the test execution starts. So let's see. This is really not very exciting, but it's the other side of development. We're waiting for the build. I'm a patient man, but this is testing my patience now.
Yeah, the stream seems also to lag heavily.
I'm at install open cover. What are you at?
Install report
Oh no,
generator.
I'm at test X unit now. Why is it?
No, at least for me, for me also on Twitch, it's
Oh,
seconds
hold on,
behind.
Pascal. Hold on. Why is it running?
And it's basically frozen the image and just refreshes every 5 seconds.
Why is it running test X unit rather than .NET Core test? .NET test. Oh, because you still got build.run.
Oh, yeah, because the build script is not updated.
This didn't actually test what we wanted to test.
Yeah.
So let's do it this way. Oh, that might do more stuff. I'm curious as to I also forget the name of it. Does it run .NET Core? Is that what it's called? I think it is.
I think so. Wait a sec.
Should
Somewhere one.
while we're in here.
Yeah, run.NET Core.
Should run inspect code. Is it? I'm going to assume that I called it that. Should run finder. Oh, Kim's saying that there is a lag, a noticeable lag on the Twitch stream, and it's been like that for about the last 30 or 60 minutes.
Yeah, for me too. It's basically one picture every 5 seconds.
That's not good. So I'm going to assume that VS Code is now eating my CPU, so it can go away just now. So if this build should be much quicker than the last one because I should have turned off inspect code and turned off Duke Finder. So it should just be the build, the restore, the build, and the unit tests. Let's see where this gets us. And be glad it isn't a big C++ project like Chromium, Firefox, etc. Then you could have used the whole stream plus more just for compiling. That's like Manfred in his work. He's got massive C++ projects that build. I totally should have spotted that before it even got to the test project. I should have spotted that it didn't say .NET Core. It could be the MacBook. Could absolutely be the MacBook. I might need to give this more RAM for the next stream. Okay. I think we're getting closer though. Because we just skipped Duke Finder and we skipped inspect code. Here we go. Right, .NET Core test. It's running. It's running. A total of 1 test file matched the specified pattern. Is that good or bad? How many test files do you have, Pascal? I would have assumed more than one.
Test files?
Yeah. Saying
Which
it's
test
saying
files?
a total of 1 test files match the specified pattern. Oh, that's the DLL. I bet. Yes.
That's the DLL, yeah. It's only one.
So, what's it doing? What's SQL Server doing? Why is SQL Server even running? You can go away. I don't need you right now. I still blame, I think it's my. I blame anti-malware service executable is what I blame. Because it just seems to be hanging here as well.
Just kill it.
You can. It'll come back.
No.
If I try killing it, or no, I can't. No, it's got open covers now up and running now, so it's getting somewhere.
I mean, tests are writing some files, but it's not that much. It's 200 test cases writing probably 200 files, but
That doesn't even make any sense. Oh, come on. I went and checked. That's what I went to check earlier when I was in Windows Defender to see if everything was turned off. I thought it was. All the real-time protection is off. This would make Maurice cringe, but I turned everything off in the hope to speed it up a bit, but it just seems like it's hung. Oh, I've got no real suggestions as to how. If anyone's got any suggestions as to how to speed this up, I'm all ears.
No idea. Whoever can try to, maybe it's Skype.
How do you mean, sorry?
Can try to kill Skype.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Then call me again.
I'm hesitant to do that just because of the potential for not being able to get you back on the stream. So, given that we're almost at the end as well, I mean, my Mac isn't working particularly hard, so I don't think there's nothing. I mean, there's lots of RAM free on my Mac, and there's lots of CPU free on my Mac, which is the host machine. So I'm genuinely curious as to what's going on. Um, yeah, I don't know. I could try that. You might have lost the feed. I've switched off my outgoing video to you, Pascal.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think for me it was good in the screen in the stream until we started with running all the tests, which may be a coincidence or.
Okay, I think in terms of where we are, I think maybe we should call it a night because it's going to finish as soon as we stop the stream, but I think we should stop it anyway. So how about we stop the stream? Should I submit what I have as a PR into Report.In.Generic repository, or what do you think? As a work in progress?
Yeah.
And then we can see where that takes us, and I can let you know if this completes or how many failed tests or there still are.
Yeah, definitely.
But okay, let's go with that. And so yes, thank you for coming on, and hopefully this means that we can get Cake.Issues.Recipe updated to include a .NET Core compatible version of the generic template project, and from there, Cake.Recipe will be able to run on .NET Core. There's still one thing, but it's not really. There's not much we can do about it. The Kudu Sync tool that Cake.Recipe uses, it doesn't have a .NET Core or a .NET Global tool version, so it's still full fat framework. So there's still a dependency on .NET, but we just had to stop running those tools. So this specific one was it can't compile. Cake can't compile the script. Whereas the other issue is it can't run a tool without having mono in play on other systems. So it's not ideal, but we'll get there eventually. But anyway, enough from me. I will close out the stream. And again, thank you, Pascal, and I'll speak to you another day. Right.
Welcome.
Talk
Thank
to
you.
you later. Bye bye, everyone.
Bye.